Hey everybody, Zach Hampson here, and today I'm going to show you the process of putting together this oil painting I did the other week called Sweet Dreamer.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me here on this video. Quick thing, important to note that this is only covering the first 6 or so hours of this painting process. There is a significant chunk that I didn't film for whatever reason of me glazing and some more touch-ups and fixing up of her left eye and repositioning that so it's a bit more anatomically correct. So yeah, I didn't film those parts, but I did film the initial beginning and building up stages. So this is what that video will be covering. So here in the beginning, you can see that I am drawing up a grid to actually transfer the photo I've taken of Avalon over onto my canvas here. And you can see the thing with the grid is that it allows you to blow up images really easily. I don't usually use a grid because honestly for me it takes me so much more time than it takes me to like check my drawing and then scale up from my drawing with my eyes than it does for me to like work out the grids and stuff like that and roll it all up. But yeah, so basically work out how many boxes you need for to get your image down pat from the reference, and then transition those boxes to whatever scale you want on your canvas, and you're off to the races. You can see I've got a lot of diagonal lines through those horizontal and vertical boxes, and that's so that I get a lot more accuracy into my drawing, so that I can reference that those diagonals really help as a guide on top of those horizontal and vertical lines. So it's just helps me with gridding up and stuff like that, and when it comes to the drawing I get a bit more accurate. Alright, so I'm into the first bit of paint that goes down onto this canvas. Usually, well, pretty much all the time, not usually, but pretty much all the time I start from the darkest darks and work my way up from the darkest darks. So darkest thing being on this whole entire painting should probably be her hair. Her hair is jet black, and so I'm gonna paint it not jet black, but a mix of ultramarine and burnt umber, and that's what's gonna give me that nice darker brown sort of feel. And the thing about not mixing, not getting just black out of the tube, but actually mixing it between ultramarine and burnt umber, is that you can skew it either warm or cold. I think I skewed it a bit warmer than I did cold. So yeah, so it gives you a lot more control over the color than it does if you were just to say grab ivory black out of a tube or something like that. But yeah, and so I sort of negate my going over the whole figure dark areas first, and I sort of jump into getting those half tones and working my way up from darkest of her hair, and then darkest of her face and the skin complexions, and then up to just those nice bit of lighter areas. I'm still not using the lightest lights that I will be using later on in the painting, but yeah, this whole section here is what you can refer to as the dead coloring stage, and that dead coloring stage just means that we're getting all the values down. You know, we'll get the colors semi correct, you know, as close to, but it's not the whole point of this painting stage is to get those colors correct. The whole point of this painting stage is to just get those values correct. You know, we can have really flat colors here because I paint in layers. Having flat colors to start with really helps with building up on those layers. All right, once I've got that, once I've got all of that skin done, that dead coloring stage all done, I'm going to move into that background. And since Avalon, her skin, what I wanted to achieve from this painting was that her and a human, her and her body, rather to say, is the main focal point of this painting. And I wanted her and her body to be the most refined, the most still aspect of this painting, and the rest of the painting have a lot of movement in it, lots of different mark making, lots of different mark works and stuff. I'm not doing not necessarily doing random marks. I am really thinking about the way that these marks can complement her and can complement the image as a whole. And I think the final piece speaks for itself. I feel like it really complements her in a way that brings the viewer into the painting more and more the more you look at it. I think I did it in a way that really complements her as the figure and the focal point of this whole entire painting. So you can see, actually, to mention this is one of the first times I've used this biro roller to apply paint. It's really interesting. It applies paint in a sort of textured way, and I can cover quite a bit of ground using it too. So it's really interesting using those biro rollers to just put paint down, really. It gave me some textures and some marks that I really liked, and that I really like to have there to start from as well is another key, because I wanted these big flat colors to start from, these big flat strokes to start from, and having the biro roller really helped me achieve that goal. And so that's something that's a tool I keep coming back to throughout this painting to get some of those mark making, get some of those marks that I really want to bring forth into this painting, and then utilizing that with palette knives really helps translate the sort of imagery I'm seeing inside my head onto the canvas in a way that brushes don't really do too well. Brushes, I feel, they'll have their own mark, and I want to save their mark for a refined sort of mark that you can only get using brushes with the figure that is Avalon, so I'm saving all my brushwork and all those fine brushwork marks for Avalon, so that I can make her nice and refined and bring the viewer's eye right onto her, and you can look at her and see her refinement, and then all around her is these big thick marks of the biro roller and the palette knives and stuff like that. So yeah. But again, the thing to mention is that I am still using my sort of tried and true technique of starting darkest to lightest, although I haven't gone my absolute darkest yet, because I'm not too sure how dark I want to take the background, but I end up taking it pretty dark, to almost as dark as her hair is concerned. So yeah, that's about as dark as I take it, but I'm playing around with the marks and trying to get those marks. As you can see the reference photo there. I'm looking at it from time to time, but I'm not basing the entire painting on the reference photo. The reference photo is just, so I can color mix her skin, her complexion and stuff like that, and see what her body is doing, so I can paint that a bit better as well. That's what all that reference photo is for. The rest is just for me to look at maybe the gown she's wearing, look at the well, it's not really a gown, it's a sheet, but I wanted to look like a robe, because Avalon being a poet and a philosopher of sorts, I say that she is. She would tell you she's not, but I think she is. So I think having that robe on her is very symbolic of the old philosophers and the way that they were depicted, and would have worn in ancient like Rome and Greece and Athens and stuff like that, having those Athenian type of gowns on them. And so yeah, I feel like this robe is really reminiscent of that, but I still wanted to depict that robe in a sense that isn't quite refined, but not as unrefined as the background. So you can still tell that it's a robe, but it's not so out there for you to be subjective about it, but it's enough there to tell the reader what's happening. And so you can see that the background is, really coming into its own right now. I'm working, I've got a lot more marks down. The idea is to get more of that robe-like feel through the background, this sort of drapery feel through the background. Although you can also look at it in a way where, really, if you look at it a bit more, if you stand back from it, I noticed, because I've got these white streaks coming down from the top of the canvas down towards her head near the middle there, you know, if you really stand back from it, you can kind of get a sense of maybe a cityscape as well, which is what I thought was really interesting. But yeah, it's kind of up to, you know, your own interpretation, I suppose. But, you know, I'm still keeping in mind everything is supposed to complement Avalon and what she's wearing, and everything's supposed to bring the viewer back into her. Is every mark that I make to do with the background is to benefit her as the subject and as the main focal point that I want people to read into and look at as well. So all my directions that I make with my strokes and my marks, all will bring you back to her. So that's something, you know, if you want to try and do something like this, is something you could think about. On top of that is like, how does your background, you know, how does what you're painting and how does everything around your main piece of your painting, what you're trying to say, benefiting what you're trying to say, you know? So don't really think everything in a painting is there for a reason. You know, it's not like a photo where you can get some random person walking in the background. No, because a painting, you know, you paint it in for a reason, and you took the time to paint that in. So there's always a reason to have that in the painting, whether you know, you're really consciously focused on that, which you should be. You know, if you want to make the painting the best sort of painting you can make, you know, you should really take the time to consider what you're putting into it and why you're putting it into it. You know, everything should have a reason for being there, and if it doesn't, you know, I guess you could say Bob Ross has those happy accidents, but they're all, you know, to bring some sort of value to the viewer. You know, you should really take the time to think about what it is you're putting into your painting and why that is. So you can see I'm coming on over the top with that second layer of the painting process on Avalon. Now I'm kind of happy with the background. I'm feeling like there's a bit more I want to do to it. Like there's some things that I'm not quite happy with at the moment about it, but where it sits now, I'm really quite pleased with how it is now. So while I'm letting the background marinate, so to speak, I'm working back into Avalon and working back over her skin and her complexion and her anatomy and stuff, and bringing things a bit more refined, a bit more fleshed out, with using some smaller brushes at this point as well to really get that refinement process underway. And so this is only the second painting process. This is only the second painting of over the top of Avalon that I do at this stage in the video. That I didn't capture was I think I did another two paint overs on top of what you see here. So there was another just straight on oil paint over, and then there was another glazing paint over, which really helped me refine the details a lot more. And for whatever reason, I just decided not to film that, because I just wanted to zone in, focus in on doing that, and not have to worry about filming the whole process. But long story short, I wanted to, still reveal to you what the finished product of this painting looks like. And so what you can see here is just a slow pan out of the entire painting, which I am very, very stoked about. So thank you all for watching. I'll catch ya.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'd really appreciate any sort of feedback you have for the channel. Leave it all in the comment section below there, and I'll read through all of that. So if you liked this video today, why don't you give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and when you hit subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next video.